All right, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday's Talk About with Mike Jar. Just gonna let things warm up a little bit and we'll get the show going. We got a jam-packed evening for you tonight. We're talking about the Sri Lanka situation there and the green self-destruct deal. We're talking about Davos and Jack Posobiec, who was detained there, trying to cover the World Economic Forum and their nefarious deeds. And we're going to talk a little bit about taxation as theft from a biblical perspective. So tune in, share this out, and get ready for some fun in Tuesday's Talk About, episode number 2.
Welcome to Winnipeg Alternative Media, where uncensored truth matters. Our mission is information freedom. You're watching Prairie Truth with Todd McDougall and Mike Jarrow. Check out our latest merch at wham.live/shop. Help out our mission at wham.live/donate. Join the resistance, stay informed, subscribe to our newsletter. Find everything Winnipeg Alternative Media at wham.live. Live, uncut, unedited, when it matters. You are the tyranny immune system. Winnipeg Alternative Media presents Prairie Truth.
Hey guys, welcome back and good evening. I got my trusty taco boat right behind me. Welcome to the show. Voice reminds me of Glenn Beck. Yeah, Diagolon. Hail Diagolon, our favorite joke country that's more free than the rest of the world. Oh, yeah, suck back some of that poison. All right, so tonight, we got Sri Lanka on the agenda. And you guys been hearing about Sri Lanka and what they did there with organic farming and, well, the usual communist agenda of the government thinking it knows better than all the people for what they need to do and completely destroying their economy. I say that with a smile, but yeah, it's pretty tragic, and I'm just hope it doesn't come here. So here, let me get some of this up on the screen for us tonight. All right. Yeah, so Todd's not joining us tonight too. He's gonna be out. More on that on Thursday, I'm sure. How long till they take our gardens away? Yeah, I think at that point we'll win, cause yeah, it'll just be that stupid that people will be like, yeah. I mean, it's already happening. We know it's happening. We know that there's already Monsanto and other genetically modified seeds that would be planted, and then they would blow into the farmers across the street's crop, and now all of a sudden their crop is owned by Monsanto. Weird stuff like that. So I mean, I don't blame you. It's for the greater good. But yeah, if they just straight up made gardening illegal, then well, that's what they're doing through trying to take away the ability to pass your land down to the next generation. It's their paternalistic, they know better than you. Yeah, exactly. It is insulting. Yeah, that was like the World Health Organization saying that, "Oh, we've saved people from tobacco." It's like really? Like you really think that people are just maggots that you need to save from tobacco, or they're just going to kill themselves? I mean, yeah, it's in some extent that's true, right? But that's the creepy and weird thing is if you see that truth as a reason to control people, then you're probably a psychopath. But if you see that truth that certainly people are going to use tobacco and probably shouldn't, or certainly people are going to drink high sugar drinks and probably shouldn't, well, you don't just control them with like higher taxes and yeah, forcing them to pay more through government programs. You educate them and you talk to them. That's the only thing that actually changes people for the better, is talking with them and trying to have a negotiation. So here, let's take a look at this. Organic farming went catastrophically wrong. Now, I'm a proponent of organic farming to some extent, so this is pretty interesting to me. Yeah, faced with deepening economic and humanitarian crises, Sri Lanka called off an ill-conceived national experiment in organic agriculture this winter. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely worth noting that growing organic takes more resources. Doesn't have to though. So yeah, I think that's a pretty fascinating thing about organic. Yeah, like the bricks content in and the higher the quality of the soil, the higher the quality of the plant. But of course, if you just force everybody to use organic through the state, the violence of the state, then you're just going to destroy the economy and you're just going to destroy farming instead of actually enabling it. So again, it's about that fine line. If you're going to talk to people and say, "Hey, look, organic farming is better for the land. There's less salt runoff into the water, so it doesn't destroy the water." Do that. Have conversations. Have meetings with people and get that word out there. But don't just like force everybody to go organic at the whip of the state. Because, yeah, we're gonna destroy the world like that, thinking that the government knows better. Edumacation. So the result was a brutal and swift, against claims that organic methods can produce comparable yields to conventional farming. Domestic rice production fell 20% in just the first 6 months. So long self-sufficient in rice production, it's been forced to import $500 million of rice, even as domestic prices for the staple national diet surged by more than 50%. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, yeah, education. Yeah. Well, I was exposed to some of the university courses there through my girlfriend this week, and geez, some of the stuff they are teaching is just so mind-bogglingly dumb. So, I mean, obviously, I kind of in theory knew that material was being taught, but being exposed to some of it and actually getting a chance to read some of it was just mind-blowing. Like, they literally just take 3-4 word sentence and cram as many words that sound fancy as possible and make it like this almost paragraph long sentence saying like some super simple concept. And it's mind numbing. It's like saying it's okay. They're probably just getting paid for word count. They're just saying it's okay to just fluff up your writing to make you sound smart. Like, oh yeah, that's really what I want to teach my kids. Like, go to university where you can learn to sound smart and not actually ever be smart. It's so absurd. It really is. But hey, you want to go to university. It's basically a prison. So what do you think they're going to give you for education? Prison slop. Received my Let's Go Brandon shirt I ordered from the InfoWars store today. It has Biden's face instead of the letter O. That's awesome, Steven. Yeah, that's great. We should get some Let's Go Trudeau shirts going on. Any kind of design. If you guys got designs, we're always happy to take designs and put them on shirts and make our store better too. So send shirt designs to info@wham.live. Anyways, let's see what else we can find out about Sri Lanka while we're on the topic here. These two are the same article. Yeah, so they've hit rock bottom over there. I'm sure you guys have seen the videos. It is pretty disparaging, quite frankly. What else can we say? What else can we say? Here, I've got this video actually. We could play a minute of this. I love messing with graphics. Yeah, if you guys think you could contribute at all, like whether you would think there's a cool sticker meme that you create or whatever, by all means, info@wham.live. Always happy to promote some independent creativity. That's the name of the game here at Wham. And if you think there's anybody who would like to be a presenter too, we're always happy to have other guests on. info@wham.live for guests. All right, let's take that off for now. So let's go a little sidebar into updates on Elon Musk. So I'm not a neo-feudalist by any means. I don't like praising one person or another. I mean, praise good deeds. Again, it's authority through competency. So when I see competent people, signs of competency, then I want to support them, right? I don't. People who are very competent should be in charge of the world, and that's a meritocracy. That's essentially what capitalism, in a lot of ways, is created. That being said, as far as some of the things I learned about Elon, one of the things he seems to be fighting the New World Order. So to a certain extent, and I'm always very skeptical. I'm open-minded, but I'm also very skeptical. So just seeing that Elon fighting the population collapse, I think is awesome. It's good. It's most of these globalists are running around saying that the Earth's population is too high and we need a bunch of people to die. We're at carrying capacity and all that. And yeah, Elon's calling it out and saying like, look, the population could collapse completely. We've had a birth dearth for years. We understand that it's specifically in the West, it's people are just dying. Like even in Japan, the anywhere that gets to be a first world country sharply declines their birth rate not far after. So yeah, that was pretty cool. It's like, okay, when you're touting free speech too and saying that the world needs more babies, I think it starts to make me think you're competent and have that merit that should be worth appreciating. And also, this is a number of years old, but I just found this out this week, which is pretty funny, that Facebook's internet satellite blows up during failed SpaceX rocket launch. So I thought that was pretty funny. It's like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk apparently have been in a little bit of a billionaire drama feud in their time, and just so happened that Facebook's satellite got blown up on the tarmac. I don't know. I mean, I didn't do it. There definitely wasn't C4 planted in that rocket. No, definitely not, Mr. Zuckerberg. But so yeah, just some interesting facts about this wonderful world that we live in. So, who's heard of the Davos meetings with the World Economic Forum? Anybody been following that lately? Seen this guy's face before? All right. Yeah, so the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and we've got some pretty interesting footage from there, some pretty interesting speeches by our favorite supervillains. And yeah, it's interesting to see someone like Jack go there. I think he's fairly mainstream. Well, what was his turning point or something like that? Like he's fairly well known, getting to be up by like a Ben Shapiro type guy. Maybe not quite as big as him, but he's out there in Switzerland looking for the story, trying to get the details on the Davos meetings. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see him out there, and well, not cool to see the real Policia Nazis. Well, let's be calm with the words here. Maybe not Nazis, we'll say, but probably we'll say probably Nazis. With the probably Nazis over here are security guards or whatever, detaining them and telling them not to record because, well, they don't like being challenged. So I think that's pretty standard and pretty typical common theme for these type of world elitist meetings where they're flying in there with their massive jets to complain about everybody else using gasoline and making green emissions. So yeah, that was pretty interesting to look at today as well, or this week. And yeah, what else can we say? There's a lot going on here in Winnipeg. We've got the discos coming up this weekend, which is going to be pretty awesome. I'll be there myself on Friday, and it got extended onto a Saturday as well. So it's a double night of disco fun this coming weekend in support of the university professors who are going to be taking lawsuit up to the universities. So that'll be fun. If you guys aren't there, then check out our Telegram chat. I'm sure we can get some details hooked up there. That's t.me/whamchat. And yeah, let's see what else. Oh, I do have a taco boat behind me if you guys were wondering. So, it's We're riding. We're riding. We're riding. Well, we could get right up into my favorite topic, which is the law and the Bible. Kind of both of my favorite topics that go hand in hand. And that's really what I kind of prepared to talk about today, you guys. So, yeah, we could look at the bigger picture of what's going on in the world. If you guys have any other topics you want me to cover, I will definitely do that. So send them in the chat. But let's open up the conversation about the Bible and income tax. So I think this is a super fun conversation. I think I have very different views on it than most people. And, well, let's begin. So first of all, I think that the most important thing when it comes to talking about these topics, such as the law and the Bible, is that it actually comes from a love of the law. So it's really, for me, when I explore what does the law mean and what does the Bible say about the law, or just what is good law in general from a philosophic perspective, it really comes from a love of the law. I love the idea of the law with a capital L, like the law comes from God. God is the one who is the source of all laws, physical laws, social laws, everything that really is truly a law with a capital L comes from God. So that being said, this isn't a poo-poo on the law. This isn't a don't follow the law kind of conversation here. However, yeah, it is a love of the law. So that's what we're kind of talking about here today, is the love of the law. And yeah, that's why I think it's important to explore the Bible with an open mind, to look at the bigger picture of what's being said, and not just cherry pick verses that have our own personal beliefs repeated to us. And yeah, so that being said, let's dive into it. What does the Bible say about income tax? Now, let's cover the first one, the Caesar's, give to Caesar's what's Caesar's. I'm no Bible expert, so I'll be first and foremost say that I'm not a pastor, I'm not a preacher or anything like that. I'm just a guy who is trying to have a close relationship with God, whatever that means. And the Bible is an amazing tool for that, obviously. So yeah, Mark 12:17, render to Caesar's what is Caesar's and give to God what is God's. Now this is such a cool verse. So many people will just read that verse and say, see, pay your income tax, case closed. And it's really quite disheartening when people are that dumb, right? Like, it's just not that simple. It really isn't. And so to elaborate on that, if we actually look at the first sentence of this passage here in Mark 12:13, you see these folks, they gloss over the very first sentence of this part, which is stating that they sent these Pharisees and Herodians to catch Jesus in his words. So they're literally talking about, right at the beginning, a conspiracy to take our Lord Jesus and trap him. Trap him in his words, mind you, but literally using that to trap him in some way to I guess try to put him in jail, right? To capture him, to say, oh, look, he's saying don't pay taxes, right? So let's get him. And that's the context here. That's the important context that we're looking at, is that, yeah, of course, the first sentence of this part, which is a conspiracy to trap somebody, a racketeering scam, if you will. So I'm never paying tax ever again. Is illegal to donate to a terrorist organization? Yeah, and that's what our government is. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. I mean, that's really why, like, guys, people, why are you talking about this, Mike? It's not relevant to today. It's not an important issue of our time. It's like, why are you talking about the Bible and income tax? Well, actually, I believe that the core of our social problems here today come from us giving up our responsibility of owning our income to the state. If our society just said hard no parasitical racketeering scams like this, then we wouldn't have a lot of the problems that we have today in terms of, well, fake news organizations being paid by the government being able to print endless money, deflating our money. We wouldn't have unstable money. So it's, yeah. So it really comes down to, for me, is that if we did not allow violence in our policies, we didn't make it the norm to be violent to our neighbors, then we would actually be rejoicing with our politicians right now. So that's why I'm covering something like this, because we got to go back. We got to go back to the source. We got to go back to our roots. We got to return to earth wisdom and understand that, yeah, income tax is a criminal offense. You can't just go to your neighbor and say, hey, look, I'm the head of the block here, and you got to give your 10% to me or else you won't be safe anymore. Like, you would just, people would be like, what? You're insane. But no, the government does it, and we're like, oh, yes, govern me harder, daddy. Yes, yeah, give me some of those shots. So, anyways, why are you trying to trap me, Jesus says? Of course, bring me a denarius. So the really interesting thing here is that Jesus is really just saying, guys, give to Caesar's what's Caesar's. Give to God what's God's. Don't mix them up. Don't get so caught up in the money, which is of this world and really is nothing. If you think about it, money is nothing. What do you want money for? You want money because it gives you things that are useful, eggs or shelter or, sewage treatment you pay for, or medical treatments that you pay for. Like, that's what you want. You want the goods and services that money provides for you. That's God. God is in the goods and the services, truly in the services, right? Goods are just quantified services. But yeah, I love you guys. Yeah, great comments here. Keep it up, folks. Yeah. So yeah. Give to Caesar's what's Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. And in that, I also think that's pretty cool, and it makes a lot of sense right now in the context of cryptocurrency, because it's like, here, take that fiat currency and give it back to the state, and we'll use our own currency. We'll issue our own currency, right? And that's what we used to do. We'd have like gold coins of our own. You could stamp them if you wanted, but you had gold, and that was your family's treasure. Or you'd have actual tangible treasure. So give back to Caesar his crappy fiat currency, which is totally worthless anyways, and let's start using cryptocurrency. Let's start using decentralized currency. Let's start using gold and even trading with each other from goods to goods. Trade some chickens for a tool or a chair for whatever it can be. If we can be trading within the freedom community, that's also very beneficial. Freedom goods to freedom goods, no intermediary necessary. So, I think that's also important to be said here. Like, that Jesus is saying very clearly not to mix up the two things. Keep what's holy separate. And then they were amazed at him. And then, so then we could talk about how Jesus goes on to say, we could say in Romans, he just says it outright, like, pay your taxes and this and that. And it's like, of course, pay your taxes. If you owe somebody the tax, if you owe the government money, rightfully so, then you should pay it. But they also fraudulently pretend that you are some corporate sole entity, so you really don't have to pay tax as a living man or woman, because that would be illegal under common law. So what they do is they create some kind of corporate sole entity that actually isn't you, but it has the same name in all capitals, and then that entity is that entity is what then is responsible for income tax. Yeah, well, Chuck, I appreciate that. Like, I actually come from a very interesting background. We'll probably put that in the talk about at some point. Just my own personal experiences with having dreams and visions as a child, and being very open and curious about what is life and astral projection, and was an atheist at one point, and did dreaming and out of body and psychedelics and all that stuff as a kid, and eventually kind of just saw this Christ symbolism or the way or the logos in everything, and started to realize that it's about a relationship with the cosmic all, the source of all being. But yeah, I guess that's another time. But the point is that, like even as Peterson says, that churches are, these hubs of of social fabric. So that's why I started going to church too, is that I always see Jesus in everything. And I was like, why did I ignore the churches? These are places, generally speaking, where there's good people. And yeah, I mean, nobody's perfect in this world, but yeah, we don't need necessarily religion. We definitely need a relationship with God. And this is certainly a battle of good versus evil. Even if you are purely atheist, I think you could pretty well see that there is some bigger picture stuff happening here than any one person can really, yeah, can put together. So let's take a look at the temple tax. I guess I could add this one. Jesus and the temple tax. Yeah, so Jesus explains the law in 2 commandments as well, which is another part that we'll get to. Yeah, but will not enter a church. Yeah, I appreciate that, you guys. Like, I've first and foremost always believed in what I call conscious fractal holographic simulation theory. So I truly believe that at some level we're all connected, and the one fabric of the universe is actually what God is. Although the full perception of God seems to always be elusive, kind of above anything. Like if you try to encapsulate an idea of God into something and say, here it is, I've figured it out, this is how we describe God in his totality, it's like evaporates immediately, you know? So it's yeah, as much as God's wholly like available and everything, he's also not available in his entirety. But a lot of the churches have kind of burnt people and just bent the knee. And that's kind of really what I'm getting at too when I'm speaking about a lot of these things, is the state worship. And we'll get to the Jesus explaining the 2 commandments and how the state worship is so dominant in our culture today, and they don't even realize it. Like they think, oh, well, I'm just being good and doing the right thing, and I'm a good person, and I'm nice, and all this stuff. But really what they're doing is worshiping the state. They've been usurped and cut off kind of from their own belief system. Okay, let's see here. The temple tax. So after Jesus and his disciples arrived in Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma temple tax came and said, does your teacher pay the temple tax? Yes, he does. When Jesus came into the house, Jesus was the first to speak. What do you think, Simon? He asked. From whom do the kings of the earth collect duty and taxes? From their own children or from others? From others. Then the children are exempt, Jesus said to him. But so that we may not cause offense, go to the lake and throw out your line, and the first fish will have a coin in his mouth. So shortening things there a little bit. But yeah, I guess the some are good, some are mediocre, and some are religious, not good. Yeah, just there for kind of a duty. Appreciate the comment. I agree. And I've found some pretty awesome communities of Christians, and they're freedom fighters and freedom lovers as well. They really put their worship of the Lord, the God of gods, in its right place, which is above all. So let's see. This to me is also pretty clear. Like, yeah, the first thing we're talking about is that give to Caesar's what Caesar's, right? But in that, he's saying the first part of it is they're trying to trap him in his words. They're really just like a racketeering scam. So people are using that to say you should pay taxes. Then just point that out and say, hey, look, it's a racketeering scam right from the start. Like literally, he's trying to trap him. But here it's like, okay, now secondly, with Jesus saying give to God what's God's, that's putting a clear indication that what is God's is first, right? Like your duty is always to God first, not to mankind. Even if you don't believe in God, like I hope you guys can kind of just roll with me on this. Like your duty is to the common good of all. If you want to look at it politically speaking, just your duty is to common law before it is to the law of man, right? Lowercase law of man, lowercase l. So if you're like a police officer, like really, and then your superior says, you know, go start shoving people in train cars or whatever, then it's like, no, I don't serve you and your lowercase laws. I serve God and his uppercase laws of common law, the law of the land. So that's kind of what we're saying here is put God first. So now if we're talking about the temple tax, and we're saying put God first, then the temple tax is the primary tax we should be concerned about, right? Should we pay the temple tax? Like, who cares about paying the government tax? That's secondary to the temple tax, right? So let's put that in the microscope here and saying, well, actually, kings of the earth will collect tax from others, not their own children. So that's another thing. It's like, well, why would you collect tax as a government from your own people? Wouldn't you then like tax other people or something? Like why would you take tax from your own people? Especially if you can just inflate the money, which is kind of a tax on itself. So, but actually the income tax is the revenue stream that they borrow against. So it's like, yeah, it's just absurd. But they know if that income tax stopped, then a lot of their funding would stop. And well, good on them. That's the way it should be. Give to Caesar's his garbage money back. So yeah, Jesus is saying very clearly here. He's like, you know, it's from your own children. God doesn't collect. He doesn't force his own kids to pay the tax. But let's do it anyways, just to be nice, right? Like that's what he's saying here. It's it's voluntary, but we should do it because, you know, we love our temple. We love them, right? Like it's our Father's house, right? So yeah, so that's the second part. There is the temple tax. He says clearly it is your choice, and yeah, it's your choice to pay the tax. But hey, you know what? Why not? And that's what I think Romans is saying, is that if you see competence in government, government should exist in a minimal state. Well, let's wheel that back a little bit. There are organizations that should carry a law with the capital L, and there's like governments used to be really good. Like go back 50 years ago, I was looking at this mayor of Winnipeg from 1955 to 75 or something, like 20 years. Guy was probably just lit. Like he was just like, yeah, I want to actually do good stuff. Who knows if he was probably got some dark skeletons in his closet too, but it's like politicians used to actually have some sense of integrity. Same with the other institutions like the media and stuff. So yeah, okay, pay right, you know, pay rightly to those who are taking care of your world in a good way. If you have a principal of a school, you want them to be paid really good if they're good. If they're a crappy principal, then they should not be paid at all. And if the government puts them into their position, then yeah, that doesn't just automatically mean that they're good. So that's kind of, we're not going to get too far into Romans. I guess that's where people would say, well, that's where it says just say pay taxes. But it's pretty clear that in Romans it's saying that you should be on the lookout for good people who actually are taking up their duty in a good way, and then watching out for people who are just not taking up their duty. Because yeah, if people look at Romans and then they just think, oh, well, Romans, it says right there you should just obey all authority. It's all given from God. And it's like, well, that's just unhinged, right? Not all authority is given by God. All authority is given by God to some extent. That's true. But humans are fallible. So, you know, Hitler was given his authority by God, but that doesn't mean we should have just obeyed him. All right. Let's see what else. What else do we got here? The greatest commandment. So that's can we refuse to pay income tax? I would really like to know. I don't feel we should have to pay income tax to support a tyrannical government. Yeah, like that's the idea of no taxation without representation, right? Like, not only is it that it's actually illegal. Canada doesn't like it. I'm not saying don't pay your income tax, guys. Like I'm not your legal expert here. So by all means, like don't start stopping income tax payments. I don't know, but you have to approach these things in a respectful manner. Part of which would be, for instance, giving up your Canadian citizenship, sending it back to them, saying, "Hey, I revoke this. Like I'm not part of your state anymore because you guys literally do not represent me whatsoever. You're stealing people's income. You're putting a pedophile in the prime minister's office. Like there's so many things you can go on and on. Like forcing people to get vaccines, which is literally against the Nuremberg Code. Like there's so many reasons that any reasonable person could pick to say why our state currently does not represent them at all. And if you're not represented, truly, you shouldn't pay tax at all. But income tax is a crime in the sense that you cannot force people to behave the way that you want them to in a political sense. You can't just go up to someone and say, well, I don't know, you better cross the road over there, or you better give me your income because I need it. Like, it's so absurd. It's so absurd. If you want to refuse to pay income tax, you get involved in some of the Freedom Telegram chats. There are people out there who know the legal way to, I don't want to say get around it, but actually show the government that what they're doing is a crime, because they're manufacturing consent with a corporate sole entity that's in all capital letters, that is not a real living human being. So they're tricking us to be represented by some fake corporate sole entity. That's another angle on it. Like, you could say, well, if you're living under a king or you're living in an empire and they're talking about tax, then you just gotta pay it, right? Like, if you're living under a tyrant, literally, then you just should pay the taxes, right? And to some extent, I agree with that sentiment, because you don't want to be like raising undue suspicion. But the bigger picture here that we're talking about is it morally sound? Is it reasonable to allow our governments to charge income tax? And it's not. It's very clearly not. And especially if we look back in history, the early founding of the West did not have income tax. Whether it was America or Canada, here we as Canadians were actually more against income tax early on. Canadians were more against income tax than our American counterparts. But so they actually had income tax first, and you can go to jail for not paying income tax in the States, whereas in Canada, they just like steal money out of your bank account or something. They don't actually come at you in Canada. But we were more against income tax here in Canada, and we went with goods tax first, which, again, yeah, different caveat, but taxation in general is thievery. it's coercion at its core. So yeah, Canadians started this country with no income tax. And so that's something that I think we should absolutely return to. Let people own their income. We can use charity and voluntarism to pay for anything of substance, anything that's valuable, any organization that's actually proving that they're competent and know what they're doing and do it well and do it efficiently. We're going to be throwing money at them, because there's always a constant need for people to get together as a group and do things well. So if people do that and they're highly efficient and they're not wasting money and they're getting done what they need to get done, whether it's housing the poor or feeding the poor or clothing the poor, like whatever needs to be done, whatever need there is in society, widow or whatever, you have to be careful what you say, but I don't. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, government, you want your money? Come and get it. I'm waiting for you. Yeah, well, I mean, dang, like I believe that too. And that's part of why I'm so big into crypto, because that's actually forcing the government out of my money and out of other people's money. So it's, yeah, it's, disclaimer, don't take my advice here, but get into crypto, get paid with crypto. If you know people, or there's organizations out there that want to pay people in crypto. So yeah, eventually it's not going to be far off. They're going to either reset the economy with the central bank digital currencies, or we're going to reset the economy with freedom coins like Bitcoin and other decentralized money. But yeah, so let's dive into the greatest commandment here. This is, I think, one of the most important things when it comes to talking about anything to do with the Bible and the law is, yeah, the greatest commandment. So one of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating and noticed Jesus had a good brain. So he asked them, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, answered Jesus, is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The Lord is one God. And the Lord is also one with everything, I believe, but also above it. Love your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. So really hitting that home, which to me is like the commandment that it doesn't matter where you are, guys, like, have a relationship with the collective subconscious. There's a part of your mind that's connected to everything. I think it's provable beyond a shadow of a doubt. Conscious fractal holographic simulation theory, we are in the mind of God right now. So yeah, have a relationship with the Almighty because he's right there hoping you do. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. Now, one of the first things I think I love about this is so cool is that he's really talking about love and love. So love God, love your neighbor. There is no commandment greater than these. And then he responds, well said, you are in the right, saying that God is one, there is no other but him. To love him with all your heart and with all your understanding and with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as if he is yourself, as if he is also one. As if your neighbor and yourself are also one. So I find that fascinating as somebody who's explored the idea of oneness quite a bit. That yeah, they're saying right here, got one God, but also you and your neighbor are the same. You're the same person. Don't get this weird idea that you're actually different. Now you are, but you got to love everyone. If somebody comes up to you and tries to steal your money, you're not just going to say, well, we're all one, so, here's your stuff. Here, if I have my money, I guess you need it more than me. No, that's stupid. You respect your property and your own property and you defend it. Because in a way, that's actually teaching them how to properly behave. So anyways, a little bit of sidebar there. But yeah, it's basically the law is love. And there's more to it than that. That's kind of some hippy-dippy, watered-down version of gospel truth, I suppose. But he does say, you're not far from the kingdom of heaven. So this is one, in my opinion, yeah, and the left-wing extremist, right? Oh man, yeah, I know. It's a weird world, right? And that's part of why I'm like, guys, we're gonna have to pull the plug. We're gonna have to republic. I truly believe this. It's not some fantasy. It's not some fairy tale. We're gonna have to republic, and we're gonna have to use cryptocurrency, and we can even have better democracy than they ever thought possible. That's the funny thing. We're gonna have better information, better money, and better democracy, and we're gonna be such a fire community all of a sudden that people are in our own separate economy. They're gonna be just like zombies with 3 needles sticking out of their arms, going, where is everybody? Why is everyone dying in the streets? Where's all the food from the grocery store? Government, why didn't you save me? And we're gonna be out there in our farms with our cryptocurrency and our guns and our Republican papers and just being like, yeah, you guys should have probably, joined Team Winning while you had the chance. So, fully jabbed, yeah, mainstream zombies are just like, oh, give me some more of that Fauci juice, just stick it into my eye or whatever. Give me one of those pills where they'll be tracking all my purchases or whatever. They just love this shit. So yeah, again, guys, greatest commandment is love. Love your neighbors. So all of it flows out of this, all of the law. In fact, he's actually referring to the 10 commandments, which the first 5 or 6 are about loving God, and the second half of the 10 commandments is about loving your neighbor. So the 10 commandments kind of is nullified by what Jesus did, and then comes into these 2, essentially shortens it for us, 2 commandments, right? So love God and love your neighbor. So it's really do unto others as you do unto yourself too, is kind of written right into this code, which is part of why, as we look back through history, that we see the most profitable, the most innovation, the most intelligence, the biggest boom in our history of wealth and economy came from when our cultures did not have income tax. So yeah, well, thanks guys. Yeah, thanks for joining. We're a little bit different vibe over here than our usual Thursday shows, but yeah, it's good. We like to do some deep dive and get those brains firing up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so politics is secondary to a right relationship with God. So let's render to Caesar's what's Caesar's. We do have a duty of a post-Magna Carta society. That duty is to protect individual political sovereignty. So I think that's another part of this whole income tax conversation. That's again, if you're in Jesus' time, he's got a very different mission. He's got the divine mission, right? He is the Son of God. He doesn't really care too much about politics. We are charged with maintaining our political systems to some extent. Obviously, it's God who does that ultimately. But if we see somebody robbing somebody in the street, we don't just go back inside and say, oh, well, God will take care of it. So it's the same thing, guys, the same principle. You see somebody robbing someone in the street, it's obvious you need to help. But if you see the government making laws saying income tax is okay, it's like, well, it's not as obvious to just say, no, you're robbing rich people and giving to poor people. Like, you're robbing the capable and giving to the incapable. And don't get me wrong, people who are not capable, who can't, the widow, like whatever, people who are not super intelligent, like people need help. Handicapped people need help. There are people who need help. But we don't help people by stealing from the rich and giving to them. That's absurd. That's the opposite of morality. It's false morality. It's the snake in the grass. It's BS. What we do is we use voluntarism. We organize and we use voluntarism. We use charity and we make things happen for people. And yeah, so thanks for that part, guys. Thanks for listening here. What else? I got one or two more topics on here. Love thy neighbor, neither covet nor patronize. I think that was interesting. Like, don't covet what your neighbor has, but also don't patronize. Yeah, well, Robin Hood took from the rich, gave to the poor, but those were the tyrants of the day too. That wasn't just like rich people who actually made their money and did it well. And don't get me wrong, I'm not here talking about like unbridled capitalism. If one person creates a monopoly like Bill Gates did, and he got charged for monopolistic practices in the early 2000s or whatever, like there's a reason why you have the state to break up monopolies, for instance. So that's kind of what Robin Hood did, almost, in a way, like that. Yeah, but so Robin Hood definitely did steal from the rich to give to the poor, but those were also the tyrants of the day who wrote the laws, pretended that they were God, personal relationship of God in all things. Yeah, okay, we already covered that. And pay what you owe, but owe not in common law. Non-aggression principle, do unto others. So yeah, I'm obviously a libertarian. I believe in the non-aggression principle, which means that you can't charge people income tax. You create a crime at that point. That's common law. And that's why I think it's important to reflect on the political technology of things like the Magna Carta and our Charter of Rights and other documents like the Constitution of the United States. We actually have to incorporate the developments of history in order to understand what is lawful and what's moral. We can't just say, well, Jesus, in his time didn't really care about income tax, so well, we can have income tax now. Like, well, wait, what is the principles of the matter? Like, for thousands of years after Jesus was here, we had the Dark Ages and kings, and we eventually, I think, through the printing press and then having more Bibles available for people to interpret from themselves, then we had a morphing, a transformation of society that allowed more freedom, more individual political sovereignty, and that's something we got to recognize because it's fast slipping away before our very eyes. And yeah, we need to return to a world where we have individual political sovereignty and people can't butt in between you and your employer and take a chunk out of your money. It's no, if you should own 100% of the fruit of your labor, and well, then more people might actually enjoy labor. So yeah, maybe that's part of why everyone's so lame and weak and doesn't want to work, is because we don't own the goods that we create fully. We have some arbiter who comes in and says, well, let me decide how much of a slice of your pie I get today. How much did you make? Yeah, okay, well then give me that amount of your pie. Well, like, no, this is my pie, and if you need some, come and ask me, and I'll help you if your cause is just and competent. So anyways, guys, thanks for listening to me babble on. We got about 10 more minutes here, and what else can we talk about? What else can we throw in the old boat and, taco it? Yeah, my gums have just been flapping and flapping. I need a break. Guys, somebody give me some ideas here or a topic. We might just close it down early. Each province should govern itself. Yeah, well, I'd say okay, but I always want to go down right to the core and say, how about each individual governs themselves? Where he's talking about national sovereignty, and what about individual sovereignty? I think that's kind of my purpose in life is individual political sovereignty. the individual should be making political choices over their own lives. I mean, even the Bible, you're anointed as a king and a priest over your own life, which to me is like very obviously denoting that you are the political master and you are the religious master of your own life. In terms of like a horizontal playing field, right? You, compared to every other man or woman, you are your political sovereign and you are also your religious priest, right? In comparison to on a horizontal scale. Now that's where Jesus, like the vertical scale, like it goes you, Jesus, God, right? And so God and you are communicating and the mediator is Jesus. And it's like, okay, that's where, yeah, well, thanks, Chuck. It's a pretty solid argument, I think. But any word on James Top? Yeah, let's take a quick peek there, actually. I think he's probably approaching Southern Ontario. That's a great question. Yeah, what if we had no government too, Laura? I think I'll look for some James Top stuff here, but what would happen if we had no government? I think that there is a place in Mexico that has no government. I think they kicked their government out. I think it would be a much better place. Yeah. I think it would be a much better place if the world had no government. And I say that not as government, but I'm saying that as organizations that use violence to get their political will. It's kind of like the same thing that if you have 99% of the people voting to say, tall people are enslaved and must serve everyone else. It's like, well, what protects that 1% of tall people? Like, no, like you can't do that. People think, well, it's democracy. If the majority say it, then it must be true. It's like, no, like that's totally wrong. You can't just say, it doesn't make it any less of a crime. If 99% of the people said enslave tall people, you can't just enslave tall people because, well, I'm a tall person. Like, guys, like, come on, don't be like that to me. No, I'm just kidding. It's because you have rights. God-given rights, That's why putting people in jail for the peace flower for growing pot was such a crime. Because it doesn't matter if 99% of the people said throw people in jail for growing pot, throw people in jail for producing alcohol. All these things. It's like, no. Like, it doesn't matter if you have fancy rubber stamps and you have these nice uniforms and you have a flag behind you and you say, hey, this is the official story. It's like, no. It's still a crime. You can't just like have a fancy rubber stamp paper and say we're gonna throw people in jail for this flower. It's like no, that's still a crime. Like you can't escape it. It doesn't make it any different. It doesn't just somehow make it not a crime. So it's the same thing with income tax, right? Like you can't just stamp a rubber paper and say, oh, now we own 20% of your income. It's like no, that's a crime. That's a crime no matter what. So yeah. Well, good evening, Bill. Good to see you guys here tonight. Do you know about the people in New Brunswick defending themselves in court against breaking mandate rules last winter using common law? No, I don't, Jonathan. I think I will have to sideline that and bring it back for Thursday because that sounds like a really cool topic that I want to cover. So let's see. Anybody got anything on James Top? Where is he right now? Let's see what I can find here quickly in our Telegram chat. Not one story from the mainstream media about Top in Ontario. Yeah, I can believe it. Pretty absurd. Terminator Top is coming, so are we? Click here for live updates. CanadaMarches.ca. Okay, yeah, that's great. This because we're having a veteran on Thursday, so stay tuned for that because we are going to be following that story. Let's see here. CanadaMarches.ca is where we're looking right now. I'll pull that up in 30 seconds. CanadaMarches.ca. Yeah. I just got that up on screen. CanadaMarches.ca, GPS live. So this is pretty cool. If this is accurate, this is pretty freaking cool. See, I mean, guys, come on, technology. Like, this is kind of cool. I mean, yeah, it's like, oh, well, they can be tracking us all at any time. Yeah, okay, you're right. I agree. That's terrible and evil, but this is kind of cool. I mean, right? Yeah, same place as yesterday. Okay, thanks, Laura. Appreciate that. Yeah, going towards killing it again is, oh, thanks, me? No, it was Todd, I guess. Yeah, thanks, guys. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. I know I'm a pretty long-winded guy, but, you know, sometimes the wind is good. Keeps the boat going. Yeah, not sure if he's live, but yeah, he's going to be approaching Nippagong, I suppose. He's past Thunder Bay at this point and marching his way. This is one of the biggest stretches, I think, too, between Winnipeg and Toronto. And he's going to probably be approaching Sault Ste. Marie pretty soon. So, yeah, isn't it incredible? Isn't it just amazing? Like, I saw Terry Fox, who I didn't know was a Winnipegger, but he was born in Winnipeg. Shout out to a shameless plug for Winnipeg. But yeah, Terry Fox, who ran across, and like, there was like so much media at that time. The world was so much more like, just not a giant toilet. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful stretch. Yeah, and just, oh man, like this is a story of probably of the year, really. I mean, dang, like this, it's gonna be one of those historic moments that half of the country or more is just so blind to and doesn't even know until like 3 years later when they're like, oh yeah, I guess on their 17th booster, I guess James Guy ran, yeah. I don't know. I'm just, anyways. So yeah. James is a hero. James is definitely a hero. I'm sad I missed him on the way through here, but yeah, live tracker. He's probably already beat Terry Fox. Yeah, from the Terry Fox statue to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. That's incredible. So cool, man. Like, so cool. And one of the things that we really needed in this country, just to keep the spirit going, man. Like, sure, maybe you can block the truckers out of Ottawa, but you can't stop one man's solid gold heart from changing the nation. Steve Fonyo. Okay, let's before we close up, let's see if I can find something on Steve Fonyo, because I don't. I did I already forget, Heather? Am I already that guy who lost his leg to Canada? Oh, all right. Wow. Okay. Well, I claim ignorance. Completed a nationwide cancer research. Wow. All right. Well, I don't know if that's him, I suppose. Steve Fonyo lost leg to cancer, then completed a cross Canada ton. Wow, national hero. So how come we never hear about this guy? Like, that's a great question. Oh, geez. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, have a good night. Cool. Yeah, we're closing up here right away. It's just last little bits. So yeah. Stay tuned for Thursday, you guys. We're gonna be back on Thursday. We got a great show for Thursday coming up. Yeah, solid gold. Yeah, changing. Yeah, all right. Yeah, well, thanks, buddy. Maybe we'll clip that one. But yeah, I don't know. It just comes out from somewhere. I don't know, maybe it's just tacos I ate. But yeah. So we got a lot going on, guys. Sign up on the newsletter, wham.live/shop. Donate if you can. So check us out on Subscribestar. Even a couple bucks a month would really make a difference in covering the costs of our platform. We do have the live feed right on our website, which is one of the bigger costs. It costs money to have that going, but that's censorship proof. We have our own live feed right on the website for everyone. And yeah, that's some of the things that we're bringing to you guys with those donations and more merch, everything. We're going to have a new store coming up in the next month or two. But yeah, guys, thank you all for joining us tonight, and stay tuned for Thursday when we have our veteran guest from Canada Marches. So yeah, that is it. That's where I'll close it up, and you guys have yourself a great evening. All right then. Bye. Don't forget to drop the anchor out of the taco boat, or you'll just keep drifting away.